Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. We're coming to you live from North County, San Diego. In this video, we are going to get into some stuff you might have been hearing on the national level, kind of foreclosures, what's happening in the real estate market. We're going to bring it down to the county level and let you know what's exactly happening here in San Diego. A lot of stuff you see, a lot of headlines are going to be national news. Well, we're getting into exactly what's happening here in our neck of the woods. We want to break it down and let you know so you know what's going on in our neighborhoods. And once again, we're getting over foreclosures and kind of show you some charts on exactly what's happening. You might have heard there's a huge increase. I mean, it's all relative. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. If this is your first time, we come to you every single week, let you know what's going on in our local market. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm Chris Erickson.
Loren Sanders.
And we are with the Beach Life Group here in North County, San Diego. So let's get into exactly what's happening in the foreclosure world. We're going to start off, with, there's all our charts. But what is a foreclosure? Just so you guys kind of have a baseline, you can see here, it's just a legal process. The lender, basically you're defaulting on your payments. It usually happens after a few months. A lot of times, lenders, they don't want to take your property. They'd rather kind of work something out with you, kind of catch you up on payments. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just like you miss a payment and then they start the foreclosure process. It takes a long time. We'll show you actually, well, if you saw real quick, we'll show you exactly kind of how long it takes, what the average times are for kind of the entire foreclosure process. So if you're starting hearing things are starting to be foreclosed on or pre-foreclosure right now, it might not be happening for a long time. Anyways, just kind of set that tone.
If it actually takes place, half the time, partway through, they get remedied or they figure it out, or sometimes do short sales in between to solve.
Definitely. Yeah. Let's start at the national level, Loren. So let's bring us in here and kind of let them know what's going on. Just kind of first half of 2022 here.
Drama. When you watch the news, because it's gone from 65,000 in 82 nationally up to 164,581. So that seems like a huge increase, which it is. But if you look at the past every year before 2021, there's been more than that. So, it's going to be interesting to see how this year plays out in the end, where we end up by the end of the year.
Yeah. And one thing here too, I mean, kind of obviously during the pandemic, mid 2020 and 21, there was a big foreclosure, moratorium. So you couldn't really, I mean, it was very difficult to get people, to foreclose on properties. So that is obviously part of the number two here. And while, the numbers nationally are saying like over 100% gains, that's part of the story as well. So jumping into the California story so you can know, what's going on. And this video is important too for buyers and sellers. And, we'll kind of let you know at the end what it actually means if you're looking to buy in this market, if you're looking to sell in this market. I mean, the short story is not too much, but let's kind of continue on with those California numbers. What are we seeing in California here?
Yeah, so California, the numbers are up significantly too on a percentage basis. But for some context, if we even break it down to like June, the most recent numbers we have for foreclosure filings for June in California, now take into account there's 14,392,140 housing units.
Yeah.
And of those, there was 3,663 that went into foreclosure in California. So while this is actually, it's a tragedy, it's a difficult time for the people dealing with it for sure. So I don't want to make light of it at all. But on a bigger scale, the actual numbers pretty small at this point.
Yeah, and if you take the number that they're showing here, 16,340 foreclosures or filings in that first half of the year, and you divide that by the amount of homes in California, which is just over 14 million, it comes into 0.001%, a little bit, very small fraction. So if you're waiting for that huge wave and kind of flooding the market, which we'll show you kind of the San Diego market coming up here next, and kind of compare how many foreclosures there were in that, last housing crash, 2008, 9, 10, compared to now. It's pretty interesting to see. So coming into the local levels.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's still very low as well. I think there was 239, and that wasn't necessarily foreclosures. It was lender mitigated. So it could be a short sale as well in this most recent a month. And so that's why the graph gets so low. You can't really see what the number is, but
yeah,
very small number. You know, when we went into COVID lockdown and all that stuff, one of the huge changes from the slowdown that did happen then versus 2008, 7, 8, 9, 10 is the forbearance program.
Mm-hmm.
So people just added what they would have owed on the back of their payment. People didn't make payments. There was less homes on the market. And, you know, all of those folks got to participate in pretty huge gain over the last 3 years of equity. So that's the other thing that changes drastically versus 2008 is there was 30% of people with mortgages underwater in that time frame. So it's a much different calculation for folks if you're, you know, you have $1 million house and it's worth 650, you know, 650, or you owe $1 million on a house and the house is worth 650, then you know, are you going to work hard to make that all work out, or does it make sense at some point to let it go? So those are two of the big factors that are completely different this time, and so it changes the complexion of the whole setup.
And one other thing with being underwater, so that it means they bought high, the market fell a little bit, which we're seeing a little bit right now. The market is kind of shifting a little bit compared to where it has been in that frenzied market recently. But nonetheless, actually, when the last time, 2008, 2009, when this happened, a lot of people had the adjustable rate mortgages as well. So as the home prices fell, their actual payments went up, and it just became unsustainable for them to complete, you know, to make their payments, ultimately causing foreclosures. You can see here, just zooming in the last kind of 5 years or so, you see a significant drop off, and it just keeps tracking down. Obviously, like I said, take that with a grain of salt, because the last few years it has, you know, there's been those forbearance programs, there's been kind of moratoriums and stuff on that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's still downward trend. And then here's those lender mitigated properties here in San Diego County. You can see it's just tracking kind of super low as well. So yeah,
from left to right. I mean, we were up over 8,000. You know, it was higher than that in 2008, 9. But so, you know, it's not a big part of the market at all right now.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, you know, we're watching these things regularly to see. And when they jump 100%, it sounds, you know, you catches people's eyes and it makes a great headline. But it's similar to, you know, when we look at our inventory levels in San Diego, Chris, we were down to like 0.6 months supply of inventory for homes, which is insane in San Diego. Now we're at 1.8 months. So we're up 200%. And the relative and why that's gone up that fast too, part of it is the market slowed, less buyers, and homes are taking longer to sell, and a few more have come on. But now we're backing off. We're seeing less inventory come on. So there's so many things that go into it that you can't just make blanket statements either. It's kind of and that's part of why I like this. We got to keep track of it, and it's like a puzzle you want to put together and keep you know, see how it plays out.
Yeah, and let me show you one more real quick. The how long it takes to complete a foreclosure. You can see this is kind of nationwide, but as of now, the most recent last quarter was 922 days from when they start the process to when they end it. Like I mentioned, banks a lot of times do want to work with the owners of the house. They don't necessarily want to own that asset. They would rather have the people, you know, catch up on their payments or refi or something to kind of mitigate that whole process. But yeah, what do you see going forward?
You know, I think right now the people that want to sell, that need to sell, have equity at this point still. So they're probably pretty safe as far as, you know, having a large number of them. It could be a while before we see a more normal, and I don't even want to call it a large number, but get a more normal number. If you look around the country, you know, there's 4 or 5% of the properties are foreclosed. There's kind of that inventory all the time. I remember when I worked in Texas, there was always a number of those type of properties. But so you know, it'll be interesting to see. The biggest challenge for us when we're looking at all this stuff is what the Fed does and what the government does kind of skews the way the whole process would normally play out. With messing with interest rates, buying bonds, all that kind of stuff skews that. And then, forbearance skewed what would have normally been a kind of a over where the market overdoes itself, and then it kind of clears itself out and moves on. So to me, both that does is elongate both of those processes. So, it may take longer. We may be flat longer. Who knows? So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah. So for any buyers who are looking to kind of take advantage of any foreclosed properties, maybe looking for those deals. Actually, when I bought my property back in 2013, it was a short sale. So we did get the property at a discount of sorts. Nonetheless, coming up into these next few years, buyers waiting for that, it might not be the best strategy. It's good to keep an eye on. It's obviously good to keep your options open. But as far as kind of a big wave coming, we shall see how that goes. And for sellers, what does that mean for sellers? What does all this mean for sellers?
Yeah, I mean that there could be, overall, I think there's going to be a cap on price increases over the next few years. A little bit should keep that kind of moderated, but the economy changing can keep that moderated too. Overall, though, more people believe in real estate. Especially during inflationary times, it makes more sense to own a hard asset than it does some other things. So, and by the way, we didn't even talk about rents. Rents are gone crazy. So that fuels, there's like 25 things that go into at least that go into what's going on. So when you look at all of them, you try to come up with like a Rubik's Cube, you try to come up with the right combo on what's going to happen. But the things we watch daily is kind of what we talk about. The market time. We were talking about this before we got on. This was, hey, we can see now in some areas that market time for the year to date was at 20 days, and when you look at just the past 30 days, the market time is now 34 days for those things that are sold. And then when you look at everything that's active, the active market time is 42 days. So the market time's going up. So more things going to be on the market. And we're going to, we're slowing down as far as the number of sales. That's going to be the big story by the end of this year is the number of closings are going to be lower, I would think, by a decent amount.
Definitely. So, definitely tune in next week because we're going to cover the Carlsbad market and exactly what's happening there, kind of go over, tell the stories behind what days on market, what all that means, kind of inventories and what all that means, and kind of, talk just very simple, let you guys know as home sellers or potential buyers so you guys can make plans and see what's going on. If you guys do have any questions on, foreclosure or anything like that, kind of, that's what we do, help people out, help home sellers out. If you're looking to buy a home too, feel free to reach out, call, text, email. We got your back when moving in and around North County, San Diego. So be sure to tune in next week. We'll catch you on the next one.
We're here to help.